Today is hopping down the bunny trail. Spring is on the way and I am so glad. So let's see what I'm making today. Bunnies, wreaths, and more. Hi, my name is Cindy, aka Z9designs. So sit back and watch what's hopping down the trail. DIY number 1, a decoupage rabbit. The supplies needed include a Dollar Tree rabbit, white acrylic paint, Mod Podge, a blue napkin, and a piece of plastic bag. Now, blue chinoiserie carrots, rabbits, vases, and other designs are being seen in home decor stores. In fact, I have been seeing them everywhere. Although I don't have the real deal, but I think I've come pretty close. I purchased a small rabbit from Dollar Tree that is probably made from resin, and I thought this would be good for a great chinoiserie look. I had a blue napkin with flowers that I had purchased from a local store. However, you can use any pattern. And I think it should be small because the rabbit is small, so any small pattern will suffice. In addition, this can be done with any object that is solid. I did a vase some time ago and it looks pretty professional, and I'll show them all together. Even though the rabbit was painted with an off-white color with a tinge of brown brushed with kind of a hint of a wood look, and in fact, I thought it was made out of wood in the beginning. So it needed a solid color base. I put 2 coats of off-white acrylic paint on it. After it was dry, I began to make a plan to covering it with napkin. I removed the 1 ply, and then you need to do that so you would expose the part with a deeper blue color. Then I just began cutting or tearing off pieces of the blue part of the napkin and set it aside until I had, enough pieces to cover the rabbit. I applied the Mod Podge in sections and placed pieces of the blue napkins on the back and on the legs and the face and even the little tail and other parts to give it a real complete look. I left some white space so it would not be completely covered because you need to have some spaces that are white that you can see through, or else it will not give that chinoiserie look. Although I use matte Mod Podge, the rabbit has a nice patina that made it look high-end, so let me know what you think. I am beginning to see some bunnies hopping around, which is a good sign of spring. God made the rabbits for our enjoyment. So if you've liked what you've seen, please give me a thumbs up and comment. If you make anything like this, tag me and let me see your creativity. DIY number 2, clay egg carton. Supplies needed include Daz clay, white acrylic paint, Mod Podge, blue napkin, a 6-egg recycled carton, rolling pin, and parchment paper. I took out a handful of clay and put it between 2 layers of parchment paper. And then I took my rolling pin that I use for my crafts, and I rolled and rolled and rolled until it was about a 1/4 inch thick. I also use a little plastic roller that I had that is, I think, supposed to be used for clay. I use that to smooth out directly on the clay. Now, we have all purchased eggs from the grocery store. They either have a styrofoam carton or the recycled paper carton. I prefer the recycled paper carton because you can reuse them or use them even as a model. I had a recycled carton that I had used several years ago for decor. So I use that as my model and template. Then I carefully removed it from the parchment paper and put it over the egg recycle carton. Now, I think I put it on the wrong side in the beginning, so I had to remove it and put it on the inside instead of the outside. Now, it is important to conform it to the model or the template so as it dries, it will mimic an egg carton. Once it is almost dry, I removed it from the model and just set it to dry. Now, do not rush the process because it may crack or other things can happen to it. And I also used a little water to kind of smooth it over a little bit. I'm not sure how good that worked, but anyway, I used a little bit of it and it was just fine. Next, just like the rabbit, I painted the entire egg carton front and back with white acrylic paint and let it dry. Then I removed pieces of the napkin minus the one ply and set it aside to put inside and outside the clay egg carton. Now, in addition, for the rabbit and egg carton, I only use one napkin for both, so you don't need a lot. I applied Mod Podge on the inside and the outside and just carefully laid the napkin pieces. Now, I don't know what it is about clay, but you can smooth the pieces of napkin really easy. I didn't really need to use any plastic bag or plastic of any sort because it laid down on the clay really nicely. And as you see, it came together very nicely. I placed some real eggshells in the clay carton and styled it. And you can use any type of eggs, plastic or real. Then I will show you some different ways to style it, so keep looking. Hopping Down the Bunny Trail is a collaboration to celebrate Easter or spring. It is hosted by Crafting with Indiana Jones, Up All Night DIY, and Shabby Meets Bling. I have been watching them for a while, and I just want you to know these ladies are so talented and they make some really, really cool things. So be sure to subscribe, like, save, and comment on their channels. The link to their channels is in the description box below. Now, there are other DIYers that will show you spring and Easter items they can make, so be sure to check out their channels, and the link to the playlist is in the description box below. Okay, so hopping down the bunny trail, we are going to look at a bunny wreath. The supplies needed include a styrofoam wreath, green moss, flowers, daffodils, ribbon, plastic eggs, pom-pom trim, fabric gift bags, raffia, hot glue, and polyfill. Now, sometimes you have to use what you have, remake or embellish. So I had an old wreath that I had done some time ago, maybe 2 years ago or more, and I thought this would be great to make a spring bunny wreath. I removed the fence and the other parts until I got just to the green moss. Now, I cut some fabric gift bags in the shape of some ears. I hot glued them on the sides, but I left the bottom open, and you'll see why in a little bit. Then I stuffed some polyfill, just a little bit, not too much, into the opening at the bottom of the ears. I hot glued some yellow pom-pom trim around the ears, and I also had that on hand. And I had yellow, so I went with yellow because yellow is a spring color. Now you need something to adhere the ears to the wreath. So I cut some barbecue sticks that were hot glued to the inside of the ears. But you can also use wire. That way they will bend, and I probably wish I had used wire. Anyway, I pushed those into the inside of the ears and I stuck them into the styrofoam. And now it's beginning to take shape. Next, I found some yellow daffodils in my stash. I cut and pushed those into the top of the wreath on both sides at the top. Now it needed some embellishment, so I found some green ribbon, some satin, and some organza ribbon, and I just glued that to the top of the wreath because it needed some embellishment. That went between the yellow daffodils. And sometimes you can go too far with adding this and adding that, but I had to add some raffia just to give it a little oomph that I thought that it needed. Lastly, I had some eggs I had on hand that were in a bird's nest, but I put one on top and on the sides of the flowers and the ribbon. See, use what you have and you can come up with some interesting things. So let me know what you think. If you have liked what you've seen, please subscribe, like, save, and comment. Crafting is satisfying, and it has been shown that people live a little bit longer when they craft. It is also challenging work. I always enjoy encouraging comments, so follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Facebook. And thanks for watching and subscribing each week. I appreciate all of your comments. And remember, peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid. John 14:27. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye. Love, Cindy.